It is also reassuring to look at past performance and kind of to understand that this is normal, right? So here's a chart of 2025 versus 2020. You can see here that the cycles repeating themselves tend to have these kind of chop periods, big rises, big dips, and then it catches and just consolidates again for a while. We could be in this for a few months. Who knows, maybe longer before it ends up breaking the now all-time high at 108K. But this is behavior we've seen in the past with the Bitcoin price. And here's another chart of the cycles. Some people are pointing to this saying like the cycle is broken. I see here in like on this the purple line, I see a nice dip before the big run up. I see dips. I see basically exactly what's happened in previous cycles. And this is something I think that I find a little bit reassuring as well.
Can I comment on this chart here quick?
Yeah.
Just for data abuse purposes, I think what this chart misses is it's starting time zero on the x-axis from the halving. However, this particular cycle, we got news of the ETF early, so we had a run all the way up to what the start starts at 65 or whatever.
Yeah.
Most of that run was on the heels of the ETF stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, this looks, you technically would start this as coming from like mid 20Ks all the way up to the mid 60s where it starts.
Yes, this is true.
On one hand, 100% agree. This is not an accurate way to compare these data sets. On the other hand, I'm really not a cycle believer at this stage. And I think there are just like this idea that Bitcoin is just going to endlessly repeat this pattern. I'm a skeptic of there. It had never run up so much before the halving before, but it did. It literally ran up 100% because of the ETFs. Then it ran up because of the election. And then it's down now. Why is it down? It's down because every global asset market is down. There's a panic gripping financial markets. Brady, could you post the tweet about the Mag 7, the stock performance from the highs? So I did this quick calculation this morning. Bitcoin's down. We're at 85. Call it 20%, call it 25%, whatever you want to do, wherever you want to measure from. That's basically on par with these were the best performing assets. Google's down 20%, Nvidia's down over 22%, Tesla's down 45%. That one's a little idiosyncratic. Amazon, Microsoft. These were the best performing assets. Volatility on the way up means volatility on the way down. Palantir is down, one sec. This is pretty enormous, from 124 to 82. So that's even more than Bitcoin. So basically, if you had the smart decision of buying any of the best performing stocks in the entire country, you're down roughly similar to what Bitcoin's down right now. And that's why I want to say that this is just, you're really just part of a larger markets movement that there's been fear because of tariffs, growth slowing down, inflation. And while I'm skeptical of some of those fears, certainly investors are reacting.
And just to add a little bit more data onto what Steven shared. So those names, they're down big off of the recent peak. That's obviously true. But if you look at the 12-month return for those assets, like it's still wildly positive.
Yes.
And so just wanted to throw that out there. And then if you look at like the market as a whole, so the S&P 500 is down like 5% below its 52-week high. QQQ is down like 7% below its 52-week high. Gold is only down 4% versus its 52-week high. Not surprising. Gold's not going to move around that much. But yeah, I don't view this as, oh my God, it's a market-wide bloodbath. This is more of a rotation of stocks that did, not stocks, whatever, but Bitcoin, mostly stocks and Bitcoin, that have done really well, that are taking a breather here. I don't think that necessarily means, oh my gosh, sell the Mag 7. They're not going to do well anymore, but things don't go up in a straight line forever.
No. And it's a rational point for a pullback. Bitcoin was trading in a range for several months. It didn't have that upward momentum. There was no immediate short-term catalysts, and it's under pressure with the rest of the market. And so this kind of brings us to, so basically, I mean, I would frame the story that's driving the selling as Trump's going to trigger something approximating a recession, a growth slowdown. They're going to stop spending money. There's going to be both a government spending stop and there's going to be a tariff-driven kind of recessionary impulse. My counterpoint to that is I think it's a hard sell for me to think that this administration, which is coming in, that has a lot of different broad goals is going to be willing to take, oh, they caused a recession within the first 2 months, will be so incredibly unpopular and will make every single other political goal that much harder to achieve. Usually people are like, oh, there's a political put, like Trump wants to see the stock market do well. And he has signaled that is not how he's thinking of it right now, which is part of what's driving these fears. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, Trump, Stephen Moran, they've all said they want to see stocks lower implicitly. But I think they're talking the market where they want to see it rather than some sort of like actual, I don't think they can actually tolerate S&P 500 down 15% for an extended period of time. You've seen the 10-year so the 10-year yield increased substantially following the election, and it has now given back all of the increase in the yield, which is what they're looking to see. So they're getting the outcome. And I think eventually this story pivots, and I think that's the next leg up for assets.
Give a quick shout out to the chat. Like hanging out with you guys. Coffee Girl's got it figured out. The reason I have conviction and HODL long term is through study, by listening to Swan and many podcasts, books, and all that was critical to conviction. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It takes work. Hodling is simple, but it's not easy. So props to you, Coffee Girl. You got it figured out.
One more comment on the psychology, piggybacking off of that. Going back to March 2020 when Swan Signal Live was born, I remember watching it break below 4K, smash buying every dollar I could get my hands on. Hey, wife, do you have any dollars in any accounts? We're plowing it all into Bitcoin today. And doing that, I was terrified. Those were the scariest emotional buys maybe ever in Bitcoin. And looking back, they were the best buys I've ever made. And the buys that I make when I just plow everything I have in and the market's ripping and I feel so good about it, those are always the buys that are the worst entry points. Whatever your body feels, the opposite is usually the best decision.
I do want to pose a question to you guys. I think we may have implied it quickly at the opening of the show, but let's just do it explicitly. Is there anything that has changed your big picture thesis for Bitcoin in the last 7 days? Any of you? Any news item, market action, commentary from a big name person? Is there anything that would even register at that level of affecting your long-term Bitcoin thesis?
The fundamentals are exactly the same as they were 7 days ago, as they were 30 days ago when we were at 100K plus, right? So no, the answer is no.
I think the only updates are you're pushing out any sort of SBR probability to the 6 to 12 month zone rather than a near term. And you're also having to price in how serious are they about fiscal reduction? Is there going to be a short-term material reduction to government spending? I think no, to be honest. I don't think it's actually successful, but I could understand some people pricing in some sort of slowdown there, which again it's a short-term issue. And my answer with both of those is to say, I think there are two things that have changed, but they're not the fundamentals and they're not the long-term thesis.
Yeah, the only thing that has me worried is a couple of dividend investors are dancing on Bitcoin's price grave right now, and that kind of gets me to shake a little bit in my boots. Just kidding.